and they don't do it like issue by issue or anything like that. They kind of just talk about story arcs in general, basically. And they got Jay Edidin, who's been sitting there dissecting the X-Men after all these years, and said, hey, why don't you come in and, I don't know, write some X-Men books and see what you can do with it.
Hell yeah.
So they're just pulling from all over the place to do this, but they're not holding back money-wise. They are trying to bring these famous. I mean, the writer of the movie Mandy, like they're getting them to come in and write a story for this, and it's just what they're doing with them is they're taking each story as if it's like a TV season, essentially. The first chapter of any like audiobook or any like ebook is going to be free to kind of get you into it. And what you can do is you can buy like $2 a chapter, or like $14 for a season pass that'll cover all the chapters of that story arc. Basically, like you're picking up a comic every week.
Yeah.
Is the way that they're doing it. And it's just a way to go out and expose more, give more people more stories within the Marvel Universe that they maybe wouldn't get otherwise.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I think it's a cool concept.
All right, so
it's a cool idea.
I personally don't feel this is actually necessarily needed,
right?
Because all it is, you can just take the comic book and then just describe what's in the bubble, and then use the dialogue, and then describe what's in the next bubble, and then use the dialogue. Like it's just I just don't see a point in this where you just read the fucking comic book.
Because that's not what these are.
Yeah,
these are original stories,
right? And
this isn't. You can go to the comic book store and buy this Thor comic. Right. This is an originally made story in the Thor universe.
Okay.
It sounds like you're describing like trying to like redo comics for the hearing for the seeing impaired or something like that. But,
if they said this is comics for the seeing impaired, I'd be like, totally awesome. Let's do more of that.
There's a difference between creating a story for a medium like that and creating a story for a medium like just an audio play, right?
Yeah, no, I feel like this is something like kind of like whenever they decided like to do the little mini Archie books. Or have Archie Comics make the little mini Marvel copies.
The digests.
The digests. I feel like this is going to be something along those lines. It's going to be such a niche audience that they're going to kill it off in 3 months.
Could be.
I don't feel like it's actually going to be sticking around. It's cool. They're creating jobs, but other than that, I don't see a point to this.
Yeah. What if one of them's really good? You never know what's the next Sopranos, right?
Could be a movie or a TV show out of that.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, I hope for the best for them, but I just don't see this as something that's going to be like, oh, holy shit, Marvel made a new thing.
Tony's like, I don't want anybody reading, and so don't come out.
They're already reading the fucking comic books. They're reading the thing and looking at the picture. You know the difference? They're going to be reading the thing. There's no picture.
So what we're getting out of this, we're getting that Tony just needs to have pictures with everything that he reads.
Yeah, no, I mean menus and
exactly.
Yeah.
All right,
I like to look at the thing and point out and go, I want to eat that. If I mean, you can just menus aren't good at describing what you're going to eat either.
It's very true.
They're very bland about their descriptions. So I'm just saying, pictures tell 1,000 words. 1,000 words is a lot on a menu.
Yeah.
So let's continue down this Marvel train. So one of the biggest things that come out of the Marvel Universe in probably the last 10 years is the introduction of the Spider-Verse. Obviously, there's been a movie that was made recently.
Very popular movie.
I
heard it won an award.
Heard it won an award, a minor award.
One like you could call it a big award.
Yeah,
I mean, it was kind of competing against like 2 Pixar movies.
Literally the only non-Disney movie to win that award in like how many years?
Yeah,
like 6 years.
So the Spider-Verse is a concept where all these different Spider-Men from all the different dimensions kind of come together and do things. Has been a concept that's been around the comics for quite a while, but we never knew the origin of it. We just always assumed the origin was somebody wrote a comic and said, it would just be cool if we just put a bunch of Spider-Men into like one comic together. How do we make that happen?
Yeah,
right?
Let's get that going.
That's the logical extension. Well, we found out this week, fun fact, this concept did not come from the mind of comics
I have an idea
writers.
of how it came out.
What's your theory?
All right, my theory, which I know is incorrect, but my theory was somebody got really stoned and said, it's writing Marvel, like writing the Spider-Man comics, got really stoned. It's like, wait, so we got like Peter Parker and Miles, and you got this dude from like 2099. What if they all came together and fucked each other? And that was the start of the story. But then they got rid of the fucking part.
I think Tony's writing a whole different movie right
I think that was just Tony's fan fiction. I think that's how the entire thing went down.
Like if we're gonna bring drugs into it, it would have been like someone got really high and created Peter Porker, right? And then his friend who was there with him when he created it also got super high and was like, wait.
What if
how do we
work
Peter Parker? How do we work this into Spider-Man?
Well, I'm pretty sure that's
how do they meet?
I'm sure that's the origin of Peter Parker, considering that character came about in like the 60s and 70s.
Oh yeah.
So there you go. No, actually, the concept of the Spider-Verse is taken from a much simpler idea. It's the Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions video game.
Which, Shattered Dimensions put all the Spider-Mans together.
Oh yeah,
So
I think I remember this game.
So if you've ever played Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, the concept of the game is that you play through like 20 levels or something, and you can play them basically playing different versions of Spider-Man in different times. They never cross over and interact with each other, but you can interact with the level differently depending on who you play.
And Spider-Man Noir was done differently, and it was great.
Right, but
I really had to because it's Spider-Man Noir in it.
Right. So the idea was that you just played Spider-Man against all these different around all these different dimensions, and then that's how you progress logically through the game. So the writers behind Spider-Man went to go check out the video game, and they were like, "Oh man, you guys have like such an amazing concept that you guys are working with. Can I steal that?" And thus, the Spider-Verse was born. And so it really wasn't an inception of the comic book writers. It really was them getting inspired by watching this really cool game.
I've said for
And
years
people
the
say video
Spider-Man
game
games
stories
are
are
fucking
stupid.
amazing. No, for years the Spider-Man games have always been amazing. And they're the only one that is either a video game or comic book related thing
That's ever any good at all?
that's ever good that's been taken from a different medium.
Right.
And like there was one really good Transformers game that nobody played.
Devastation.
Yeah.
Devastation was really fun. Nobody played that. But the Spider-Man games historically are fucking phenomenal.
Yep.
And the Shattered Dimensions was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I haven't played this Spider-Man game yet, but
It's so good.
I'm
crazy.
I'm
Love
busy
it.
this week. I'm busy for like the next couple months, like probably 9 months.
The rest of your life, because all you're ever playing is Destiny.
Yeah.
But no, it
Well,
was
I
just,
would play Anthem, but
it is a really cool concept. Like to hear that the Spider-Verse that is so important to the world of Spider-Man that it has its own comic line, that it's an award-winning movie at this point.
Yep.
Was all because a comic writer went to a game studio and said, "I love what you guys are doing. Can I expand on that?"
Man.
Usually it completely works in reverse.
Yeah, no
you
kidding.
know? Okay, so our last little bit of comic book news for the week. Not really huge comic book news, but kind of interesting. So DC has been doing this line of what they call Giants Comics for a while. We've talked about it on the podcast before. It's basically a way to put out a large amount of comics on very poor paper quality, like these huge, 50-plus page books.
on newspaper print.
Yeah, give them out to kids at Walmart for a very low cost. So say they went and saw the newest Wonder Woman movie. They go to Walmart with their mom.
Yeah.
They see a Wonder Woman comic. They can pick it up. And it's kind of like an Archie Digest in the sense that you don't have to have a bunch of backstory. You don't have to have all the lore. It's just meant to be pick it up, read it, and have some fun with it without worrying about continuity. DC did announce this week that because it was so popular with what they're doing with Walmart, they're actually going to probably start shipping these DC Giants comics just to general comic book retailers.
Yeah, cool.
I mean, it totally makes sense. Marvel, a long time ago, this is like probably 10 plus years, was running basically these digests, and it was a reprint of the comic books in the correct order.
Oh, nice.
Instead of buying a trade, it was like a story arc. It was like here's 20 issues from this one to this one. We're going to try and put the stories together as much as we can, but the
Right.
numbers don't always match up. But here's a giant fuck off, thick, like phone book sized
Yeah,
thing.
I've got one of those for Moon Knight.
And
nice.
and they were great because they were relatively cheap because they were on the cheapest paper, like cheaper than old comic book paper is how cheap this shit is. And they were meant for you just to catch up and read, or
Yeah.
like for collectors, like you can only go so far back without spending a lot of money,
Right.
And to just kind of like, well, now I have the early stuff, but it's all in these digests, and then I have where I started collecting. It's a way for you to catch up on the whole story. The fact that DC is now expanding these and they're going to get into the comic book retailers is really good. I'm looking forward to this because there's going to be some stories maybe they put together in the correct order, like giant trade kind of thing, where I can read all of one giant arc and not have to spend like $100 on the trades. I can spend 25 and get the shitty paper one.
Sure. Yeah, it's not bad at all. All right, that's everything we have for comic book news this week. We're going to take a small break. When we come back, we'll be going into level 2 video game news.
All right, now we're testing this button. Hey, it worked.
Yay, button worked.
We still have to type shit, but because there's no way to like tell it press button, find last number equal, and then add +1.
Right.
I would literally have to write a script to do all that shit, and I'm not doing that. It would make life slightly faster.
Yes, it would.
But the amount of time it would take me to do that would not make it any faster.
It's really the long game at that point. Like,
We'd have to be doing this show for like another 10 years by the time it actually equaled out to the hours it would take me to like program all of that shit.
That's how bad at scripting you are.
I'm really not good at it.
All right.
I wanted this because it does it for me. Even then, I still have to go make some my own because there's things it can't do and stuff. So
Yeah.
but you can totally write a thing around it. So that's my next to-do list is make some custom things. What the fuck solo was? I clicked that by accident. Okay, we're going into video games. Level 2, video game news.
Hey, adventurers, welcome back to the show. All right, so we're going to be kicking off games this week talking about a death in the games industry. Not by an individual, but an entire title that has been effectively shot in the head, which is probably the fate that it deserved.
Yeah.
And based on the title, is a correct fitting for it.
Yeah, we found out this week that the Walking Dead game called... what was it called? Overkill?
Overkill's The Walking Dead.
Yeah, Overkill's The Walking Dead is because Overkill was the studio that did it.
Yep.
They've gone and canceled this game literally like a month before it was supposed to be released on console.
On console. It's already been out on PC.
Yes.
And it is plagued by being unplayable.
Yeah.
I guess they did like an early access Steam thing for it, and people bought it or bought into it.
Or they just released a broken game. There are those on Steam too.
They released a very broken game,
and we're
which
gonna
is
talk
like 90% of Steam.
We're going to talk a lot about this later in the show with our main topic, but this is a pretty big deal because we're not just talking about a game that got announced and then just got canceled. I mean, like I went to Best Buy like a couple months ago, and there was like already advertising holders in place saying like Overkill's Walking Dead is coming out. Reserve your copy now. Like, it wasn't a small title, basically.
Right. I mean, it's The Walking Dead. Anything. I mean, somehow The Walking Dead is still relevant to culture today.
But yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
Dude,
because
this is a side tangent off of that, but they just announced there's another spinoff from The Walking Dead coming.
They are. And I wouldn't know. The reason I don't put that kind of shit in the show is because right now we don't know what the fate of The Walking Dead is. They're just saying a lot of shit trying to drum up interest.
It's
makes
AMC,
sense.
that's what they're doing,
Yes.
but they did say that they're making another one outside of Fear of the Walking Dead.
No,
which is
yeah.
the far superior show, to be honest. So yeah, I mean,
I got an idea for it.
this is
The Carl Chronicles. It's just going to follow Carl.
I hate it.
And it's a bad pun.
Thanks, I hate
it.
So yeah, I mean, it sucks to hear something like this because obviously a studio that's put this much time and effort and money into making a product, it sucks for them because there's a lot of jobs that'll be lost over this. However, if the quality,
Dude, they saw this coming. I'm sorry, you had to have seen this coming. They knew that their game was so fucking broken, but they were still had enough money left. This was basically everybody's already looking for a new job because the game is being dead. It's dead already.
Right.
And they're like, well, we're going to totally, air quotes, program more of this game while they're typing up their resume and sending out to everywhere else.
But here's
They knew this was coming.
right. But here's the thing, and I guess, like I said, we will talk about this later in the show. But is this the better option? Just canceling a product that they knew was bad versus just releasing it, getting it out there, and hey, if it sells a few thousand copies, at least it sold a few
Okay, so
thousand
this
copies.
is I've got a good one for it. Is it like let's say you made a car and that car is a horrible piece of shit that breaks down after a month?
Yes.
Is it worth making that car and selling it and giving out to people to deal with the backlash you're going to get from the car breaking down after a month?
Yes, if you're going to burn your company down on the way out the door. And that's the question. Is it good to just go ahead and release what they have so far? For them, probably yes. Some people will buy that. For the people who buy that, probably fucking not.
Right.
Don't release broken shit, and we'll probably talk
I think
a lot about
this
that
is
later.
this is better for the gaming industry that they decide to bite the bullet and say, we know we fucked up.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's a completely valid point. All right, our week in crazy news continues. Dead or Alive 6 was released this week with, I don't even know how to say this out loud.
Just choke on it.
It is released at $60, right? Average
Oh, yeah.
price of a video
Yeah,
game
no,
right
video
now.
games cost
Normal
$60,
fighting game.
right?
Yep, right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And
Everybody's on board.
sometimes you have to buy, DLC packs or like
Yeah.
season passes or something like that. And that varies in price depending on the quality and length of content and the amount of time, I guess.
It seems more like the price of DLC packs is based entirely on the whim of the producer.
It does, in
Yeah,
fact.
it is.
Because we found out this week that not only was Dead or Alive 6 being released at a retail price of $60, it is getting a season pass that went live literally almost the same day as the video game went live. The Season 1 Game Pass.
Right, just one season.
This is saying that there will be multiple seasons. I doubt it after this.
Yeah.
Is going to cost $93 fucking dollars.
No.
Yep, that's
No.
exactly
What?
right.
The actual fuck,
Cool.
though.
Literally,
So-
no one is going. I mean, people are
Here's
going
the
to buy
thing-
this.
Here's the thing
but
about
no
Dead
one's
or
going to buy
Alive
this.
that it's the dirty little secret of the fighting game world. Dead or Alive is a lot like FIFA, where you buy the game, sure, and you buy it for full price. And not to equate it to FIFA in that it's the same every time. Dead or Alive does make improvements and iterates upon their previous fighting game.
I mean, obviously, we all played Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball.
yeah, for all of those reasons.
There's
Sometimes it's a
literally the
volleyball
only,
game.
That's like the only one I
But-
played extensively.
The thing
You
that
played
these
for the
two-
volleyball, though, right?
The thing
poker.
that these two games do have in common is that they sell I think the clinical term is fuck ton of DLC. Like just enormous, stupid amounts of DLC. And I'm pretty sure what the DOA team did is took all the DLC that they were going to release in the next year, put it together, and just add up all those amounts and go, this seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Let's
And it's
lop
not-
$5 off the
it's-
end and make it look like a
Like,
deal.
there's no way you can convince me, like, all right, so buy $60 for this game, and on the same fucking day it gets released, say, also drop another $100 on it for
and you know
costumes
what you're
shit.
spending that money on. It might be if they're lucky, another character or two added to the roster.
I think it's something like 2 characters.
right, but it's mostly just like ribbons for their hair and
Yeah.
skimpy.
See, I was
outfits.
wondering, is like, okay, is it just like, is it a dollar?
Cosmetics.
It's $1 per centimeter removed from their costume.
There aren't that many centimeters on their
Being
costumes.
Dead or Alive.
Millimeters then?
Yeah, it's like completely ridiculous and absurd. And I know that we keep saying this during this segment, but like, this is a lot of what we're going to be talking about later because
No.
this is just so fucking. This is a slap in the face to your consumers.
It's gross. That's
is.
the only word I can think of when I saw the price tag. Is that's fucking gross, guys.
I
Yeah, no,
completely
it's
agree.
super anti-consumer. It's just bad all around. Like,
Yeah.
again, I know people will buy this.
Yeah.
But I don't feel that Dead or Alive is the game that everybody that they think it is.
Right.
It's
Well,
not this
the
groundbreaking,
thing. Well,
when I
amazing
sit
game
here-
that's
okay,
gonna
so
shake the fucking
to be-
pillars of the heavens and earth.
So to be completely fair, we're all sitting here with sticker shock going, this is fucking outrageous. But if you took a game like Fallout 76, which was like fucking horrible from day one and still is completely broken, and added up all the DLC available for that game, you'd probably be looking at hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And yeah, they don't have the balls to package it that way and sell it that way, but it's all there.
It's true.
And the game was fucking broken when it came out.
Right, but that's microtransactions, like, and I get that the season pass, they break the season pass down into essentially microtransactions, where if you really do want the tiny thong for one of the characters, you can go out and just fucking spend a couple bucks and do that.
I wonder if you can just like alter the boob physics. I wonder if that's
I'm pretty
a
sure
downloadable
that's
It's
pack.
already
like
in
a
there.
$20 package.
Yeah.
For that.
Say,
But,
Boom
like-
Physics was in one of the games.
It's
Is
in
it-
all of the
is it-
games. It was
I
in
know
the
it was-
first DOA.
But yeah,
It's
it's
the
just
hallmark.
it's really absurd,
dumb.
and I feel like it's just taking your consumers and just telling them to go fuck themselves
Oh,
at
yeah.
that point by doing something like this. Because you know what, when a game like Street Fighter 4 or Street Fighter 5 came out, yes, if I want to buy some of the costumes, I do have to buy them. If I want Mega Man Ryu, I spend a couple bucks and I
Yeah.
buy Mega Man Ryu.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the additional characters, these are all things that can be unlocked completely within the game. You have to play a lot of Street Fighter to do it, but you can completely unlock everything that's in the game just by playing the game. Or you can drop the $20, by the way.
Yeah.
Reasonable. I would say reasonable cost for a season
Developing a
pass.
character for a fighting game is incredibly taxing.
Yeah.
So I understand
There's a lot of
charging
balancing
a
that
lot.
goes into it.
Yeah. So I understand charging a lot of money for one when you get one as a DLC pack.
Right. But the fact that Street Fighter makes everything very accessible and at a very reasonable cost, just you look at Dead or Alive and go, what the actual fuck?
Yeah.
guys?
What are you guys even doing? Right. But it remind me, and you may not know this off the top of your head, but is it Koei Temco?
It's
the producer?
I think it's Ninja Theory and
Ninja Theory for sure.
and Tecmo.
Yeah, Tecmo. Yeah. I think that publisher is just fucking known for their practices like that. Like
Yeah.
their games are just either completely broken, especially the PC versions, or they're just horribly predatory on the people who play them.
So this is great for a game that I had zero interest in playing previously, and now I have even less than zero interest in
Yeah,
playing.
exactly.
I actively do not like this game.
And let's just continue down that train with our last little bit of video game news this week. Let's talk a little bit about Anthem, guys.
Okay.
So,
Oh, it's over. Sorry. It went by real fast.
the big headline for the week is that Sony is actually offering refunds for some Anthem players, no questions asked. A lot of this has to do with the fact that the game itself is literally unplayable on PS4 consoles.
Correct. It is crashing, and not just normal crashing, but like turning off the console crashing, and some people have said actually bricking their PlayStation 4s.
I would like to remind everybody that Fallout 3 did the exact same thing. Fallout 3 literally crashed the PS3 and would brick them.
Yeah.
Like, this is a game that everybody's like, Bethesda's all great and they're fine and everything. No, they actually released a game that was so fucking broken it would brick their systems. So BioWare is not the first people to do this.
That's true.
That is very true.
We can throw some hate on them for doing this, but it's already happened in the past.
Just to go back to our previous topic real quick from the audience, we just got a comment that's saying that the last Dead or Alive had something like $1,300 worth of DLC on Steam.
100% believe that.
That is so fucking ridiculous. Like, absolutely.
And I know there's at least 20 people that bought all of it.
Oh, God.
Because,
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Those are the whales. Those are the ones that you make it for.
Yeah, no, it's those are I mean, there are people like me. There's one thing that you like, and you will spend your money on that one thing. Yeah. And everything else can go fuck off.
But people are not spending money on Anthem, it looks like. It looks like there's a big problem with that.
I don't know anyone who bought Anthem, and I know a lot of people who played Anthem.
Right. I know people that have said they've gotten the Origin version of Anthem.
Yeah, what I got.
Yeah, you got the Origin Plus one. You got to play it a week early.
Yeah.
Almost everybody I know actually did the. They said, "Fuck it, $15 for a game is perfectly fine." I said, "You know what? As much as I want to play this, I'm gonna wait and pay $5 to do this." And then after the week of you and everyone else I know playing the game, I'm getting ready to go like, all right, I'm going to go play some Anthem with all my friends that signed off Anthem 3 days ago and never logged back in.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I get on chat, I'm like, hey, what's going on? And everybody's basically saying, yeah, we already reached like the maximum that we feel like dealing with on this grind fest.
Yeah.
So we're just not going to play that. And I was like, cool. So another reason why I hate playing video games with you people.
Well, we all know and love Lash. Lash used to be on the show, for anyone who doesn't know. I was there to see the light die in his eyes at the end of Anthem. Or, you know, he got to the end of the game, which literally took us separately. We didn't do it together. About 8 to 10 hours to get to max level. And then it took him another day and a half of grinding the 2.5 dungeons there were in the end game to get so fully geared up that he could no longer advance in the game. And so this is...
Mind you, the end game actually hasn't been released yet.
Yeah, right. So it's 2 days plus about 5 hours of gameplay for Lash. And I was like, hey, Lash, why do you keep playing this game? And he goes, I don't fucking know. And he signed out, and that was the end of it. Right. And then he uninstalled it, which then I did. When I realized I didn't want to grind for the end game stuff, I was pretty much done. And the game is fun, but it has some fundamental design flaws that we can get into if we decide to get into them. But overall, I cannot ever imagine going back to it.
Really?
Even though, like, in a week,
bold.
their raid is being announced, coming out.
Okay, so let me describe a scenario to you. You pick up a weapon that's much more powerful than your normal weapon, the one that you're using in the game. You're like, okay, cool. You can't equip it. You have to go back to the city and like set it on your mech, right, before you go out on your next mission. They're not equipable.
Yeah,
they don't.
That's when they said at the very beginning they didn't want people to stop mid mission to change out armor or weapons.
Right, but here's the consequence of that. So you finish your mission, and there's a loading screen, which is basically the after mission report, which doesn't need to be in the fucking game. It's stupid. Right. So there's that loading screen, which transfers immediately into the next loading screen, which loads you into the town, if that's where you choose to go. If you get to the town and you have no one to talk to, you immediately turn around and start your next loading screen so that you can load up your inventory on your mech. Put the weapon on your mech. Okay, there you are. Nothing else mattered. You didn't need to change anything else. So now you're like, okay, let's select a mission and go out on the next mission. Boom, loading screen to open up the next mission. You get there. You're finally ready to try out your new weapon. 5, if you've counted them loading screens later. You try it. It doesn't feel very good. I don't like it. All right, let me go back. Loading screen to get back into the city. Yeah. Loading screen to immediately turn it back around and change your thing out. And another loading. It's 3 more loading screens before you can play the game again. Right. And these are not quick load times for anyone.
No, even if you're running a like NVMe drive, like literally the fastest drives possible right now on PCs, still slow as shit.
And
That's impressive considering I'm somebody who survived the 1.0 patch of Bloodborne.
no, exactly. I'm right there with you. I know what long loading times are like, and I'm not saying they're that bad. But imagine if every time you died in Bloodborne and started over, you had to see that loading screen 3 times.
Ugh.
Yeah. Exactly. And
Once was bad enough.
in between each loading screen, you had like 2 things to click. So it's not like you could go make a sandwich or anything. You were fucking there.
That's true.
It's so that's why I can't ever play the game again. I've seen that loading screen too
Right,
many times.
and there's a lot to kind of dissect here because Anthem did literally just come out. But
It's been
2 weeks.
2 weeks
Yeah.
since the 22nd or whatever.
Yeah,
No.
well, it launched on the 22nd, but I got to play it a week before that, so it's been about 2 weeks since I played it for the first time.
Yeah.
The full version. I just did air quotes radio.
And this is a game that people were very excited for. They had a
No,
high level
I
of
still
hype for
follow
it.
the subreddit. I spent a year following this
Yeah.
shit, being like, holy shit, this game's fucking looking awesome. Everything that we're releasing looks cool as fuck. And then finally we got to play the beta for it.
Yeah.
And
The beta didn't give me this impression, and it's not like there were fewer loading screens in the beta. It just wasn't something I noticed right away. It was pretty much at the end of my leveling cycle, right at that 8 to 10 hour mark, where I was like, fuck, this is annoying. And as soon as I had a reason to put it down, which was everyone else I was playing with put it down, I was like, I'm done. I'm not going to play this game by myself. It
do you
sucks.
think that, all right, so let's say, because right now you can get the EA access thing on Xbox and on PC and I think on PlayStation for $5 a month.
Right.
And you can have access to Anthem.
Yeah.
Is it worth $5 to play the story?
What story?
Okay,
I have no
there you go, 'cause
idea what-
I was going to say, I enjoyed
Yeah.
the little bit of story that I got, but then I also love Destiny. I love the lore of reading shit and discovering things.
Because I heard no matter how fucking broken Destiny 2 was at its launch,
Its lore is fucking
people were at
amazing.
least willing to say, you know what, the single player is good.
The single
was.
player was great, and there was a shitload of lore that was hidden. That wasn't necessarily hidden, but
the single
accessible.
player of Destiny 2 was enough to get me to play through into the end game and actually be excited until I got really sick of the game. This, I started at the beginning. The first cutscene was super cool, and then I was done. There was nothing that happened in the world, in the game, at any time reminded me what was going on.
Right.
Except for people squawking in my ear about where to go and why I'm doing it. But the whole time I'm flying and I've completely tuned out what I'm doing. The explanation they gave me in town was less than a paragraph. It was a blurb of someone needs help at the blah blah, or you need to go grab these for the blue blue. It doesn't matter. None of it was substantive. I don't know what happened. I don't know what I accomplished. I think nothing. And then the story was over, and I was done.
There's also an issue that past the loading thing, whenever you go to select your next mission, that you say like, oh, I'm going to go do mission 3. And you click on it, you go start, and you wait your loading screen, and then you load in, and you discover the mission's halfway through, and you get to another loading screen because they've already reached that door that they need to go to. So you missed all of the plot for that story because they force you to do the multiplayer, and and they automatically want you to be joined in with other people, and if somebody's further along in it, you join in with them, and you miss out on things. And for me, that is unforgivable when it comes to storytelling in a game.
Whether or not it's your first time doing the mission, you can join in with a crew that is mid-mission in progress.
Oh,
which
and
is just absolutely silly.
I don't know, like at the very beginning of the game, you can unlock a free play where you just kind of join in with random people on whatever they need help with.
Right.
You can literally get to the last story mission. You'll have the entire end of the game spoiled for you. It just throws you in and says, "Here, have the last story mission."
Wow.
Without any context, without any.
It happened
with any
to a streamer
stopping.
who I watch, Seagull. He used to be on the Dallas Fuel, but he was not one of the bad ones.
Yes, he was the only good
He
one.
was the only good one. He was in the last mission, and it was just him and his buddy, and it's a 3-man team. And a level 3 person joined in on them while they were fighting the last boss, and he's like, "The fuck? Are you seeing this?" And he's just like yelling at his friend, "Do you see this? Do you see this right now?"
I saw the same clip, and he messaged him and said, like, "Hey, dude, nothing against you, but this is literally the end of the story. If you want to know how this game plays, don't join us. Right, leave right now." He's like, "This is spoiler. This is nothing but spoilers."
Yeah.
And I had to kind of. I mean, he didn't say it in the nicest way, but I did to get it for him. He was at least nice enough to be like, "You're level 3. You probably shouldn't be seeing the end of the game right now.
Yeah.
Maybe go play the rest of it first."
Yeah. So there's the game just came out, and yes, it could get better, but as it's The play is fundamentally flawed, and another thing that I'm going to be super honest about is the entire game looks the same. You're either in the forest or you're in a cave, and all the caves look the same and all the forests look the same.
Right.
There was not a unique location in the entire
Whereas
time
things we have to
I
compare
played.
this to games such as Diablo and Destiny, where different levels look very different.
Yeah, if I'm on a different planet in Destiny, I know what fucking planet I'm on just
Yeah.
by looking around. There is none of that in Anthem.
Yeah, no, that's something that I did notice. I do believe that's something that will change over time because they said they
Probably.
did want to have the world evolve, and I felt like that they meant more in that like, no, we will literally move things in the world. We will actually destroy trees or
Yeah.
like make a desert area show up.
Well,
or
there's a
something.
lot that's gonna have
because
to be fixed before that happens.
Yeah, no
because the way
kidding.
the Shaper Storms work inside of it, the Shaper Storm can literally come in and say, "Yeah, that map you had, fuck you, and this is a new map,"
Well, you-
because it literally ripped the Earth apart.
That's all well and good, but World of Warcraft did that with Cataclysm, and before that, they had an entire world to
That you
run
could
around, and that
tell
was
that
all
was-
incredibly distinct.
Yeah, no, I get, honestly, this is a BioWare problem for me as a person who's never been a fan of their work. Playing through like their KOTOR games, I get it's Star Wars, but everything looked like the same levels in the exact same spaceship. I was never that interested in it. When it came to Mass Effect, that planet looked like every other planet. It looked like every other planet. I had never noticed a difference. It had cool storytelling elements.
I
and
played
then you
Mass
get into
Effect
Dragon
for
Age
the
and you're like,
story.
okay, this is a forest. I'm in a forest. That's it. And
Well, there's a lot to kind of unpack with Anthem, and I don't think we can dive too much more into this until a lot of these early hiccups are kind of
Yeah.
are fixed.
it's
if they
the
do get
same
fixed.
thing that happened with Division and Destiny 2 and fucking even Diablo. Actually, Diablo took longer. 1 year later, it will be a much better game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can it survive to 1 year? That's going to be the bigger question.
This one, I don't think so. I honestly think they will abandon it before.
I think
they
EA will
get-
probably shut down BioWare before then.
yeah, it's not impossible.
All right, that's everything that we have for video game news this week. We're going to take a small break. When we come back, we'll be going into Level 3 entertainment news.
That should have just turned into 15 minutes bitching about Anthem, by the way.
I mean, it's relevant, though.
about.
You know, there's a lot more that I wanted to dive into about Anthem. Specifically things like, did the timing of Apex really fuck over?
Oh, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, did
Yeah,
it-
no, because that was
that-
something that the community they requested early on. They said, "Hey, give us PvP. We want PvP in this." And BioWare said, "Yeah,
Nah.
we really don't want to do that. We'll put it on the list of things we might eventually do."
Yeah.
And everybody who wanted PvP in Anthem saw Apex and was like, "Well, I was gonna buy Anthem because it looked like a fun game, but now I can just go do PvP shit
for free.
for free."
Yeah, and that was and that's BioWare. I mean, they've never made even a good PvP system. There was one in Mass Effect 3, and I think they brought it back for Andromeda, but it felt like that kind of PvP you saw tacked onto games in the early aughts that just they had to have a multiplayer aspect to them. Think
Yeah,
like,
because Halo had one, or Halo was multiplayer, and everyone's like, "We have to do that too."
like BioShock 2.
and it was shitty.
like BioShock 2 had multiplayer.
Yeah.
That
and
was fun.
It wasn't bad, but it was obviously an afterthought.
Yes, but it was fun.
Yeah.
I got my 1,000 points of BioShock 2 achievements because Jason and I would grind the fuck out of the multiplayer.
I'm trying to decide if I should just down this or keep going.
I don't know.
It's all pulpy because of that. It's a really good drink. I made a very dangerous drink.
You're gonna have to watch us after the fact. Well, why is that? Didn't want to just hang out? Fine. We like having people watching us live, but now you're all like, no, fuck that bullshit.
I mean, I think maybe next. Oh, there we go. If we put the microphone.
Oh, yeah, that helps.
Maybe next week watch us live because that was episode 300.
It is episode 300. I'm going to be blasting out to every place. Like, at least come in. Even if you don't watch us, just put us on a new computer. Just
Like
our-
Team Rocket is just gonna be blasting off.
That's right.
Blasting rope.
Blasting
Non-stop.
rope.
Just blasting rope.
To all the Waluigi porn.
Yeah, see, the fun part about watching us live is you get to watch all the fun interlude stuff where we just say
Yeah.
ina-
This is the not
inappropriate
record.
things.
This is
Yeah.
not recorded for posterity on the podcast. It is
Right.
on the Twitches. Well, that's only for like a month until it deletes itself.
Also, DR, how dare you fucking have to specify who the fuck you are? You've had the same handle for the last, like, million years. Come on, dude. Oh, man, I forgot something in the prelude. I'll talk about it next week.
That's fine.
Dude, I've watched so many movies and done other things. I couldn't remember shit aside. I did it before the show. I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I watched Stargate and played Destiny. That's what I did 20 minutes ago. That's all I can remember right now.
Yeah, I finally found like a tactical war game that is too grindy for me. And
wow.
That's impressive.
That is impressive.
Yeah.
Which one?
Disgaea.
Oh yeah,
I never played it before. I know
really?
a lot of. I know
I've
a
heard
lot
good
of people.
stuff about it.
I know a lot of people.
Actually, it wasn't my kind. I was like, nope, don't want to play that.
The
but-
universe is fun. It's very funny. Like it's got a lot of charm. I see
yeah.
why people love the universe.
You're still playing Massive Chalice though.
But like, yeah, but
Massive Chalice is awesome.
fun.
Yeah.
But like, it's so grindy. I don't mean grindy like, oh, well, you're gonna probably want to spend in the first 10 hours of your play. You'll probably want to repeat a couple of levels. No, you can literally get to the 5th story mission, and if you haven't been going back and grinding the previous story missions, you can lose, and the credits roll on the game at that point. That is literally an ending of the game. If you didn't,
that is the get good game.
Yeah, it is a very.
They all are.
It's a very hardcore game, and it's got too much grind even for me.
Yeah, you can get to you can just max everything in every aspect of every part of the game to 99.
I was looking it up online, and people were like, "Oh yeah, really, Disgaea isn't about that first playthrough. It's about the 5th playthrough where you're level 357."
Yep.
And I was like, "No, that is too much for me.
It's a lot.
I can't do that. Maybe 16-year-old me probably would have been like, yeah, it's fine. I probably find it enjoyable, but not 30-something me. 30-something me, no,
I foolishly tried to go back about 6-8 months ago and play Final Fantasy Tactics again, and I realized how fucking long it takes to do anything in that game.
See, I can still go back and play Final Fantasy Tactics because I played it when I was younger, and so there's not a whole lot of grind in the game, but you can get some extra grind.
Oh, sure, you can grind just fine, especially if you want some of the more specialized jobs,
right,
or to discover some of them. But just being in a battle, and it's all right, let's get this started. Let's play some, and you get to your 3rd fight, and it's 3 people and 3 people. All right, you go over here. Oh, you can't quite make it. All right, you go there. Wait, you face that way. Okay, now, oh, fuck, he moved behind me and stabbed me in the head. Fuck. Okay, move you here. And then you come over here.
I don't mind that kind
but
of
you
system.
face left and you face
and
right.
that's kind of what I was going to talk about in the prelude is that I like to have a game running in the background while I'm at work because it's something that I've been doing for ages. Back when I first started as a tech, or not when I first started, but I used to, one of my coworkers, him and I would sit next to each other with a chessboard. And so just throughout the day, we would play chess with each other just to kind of break up the monotony of all the work that we were doing. And so kind of having a tactical game like Civ or Disgaea or something running in the background while I'm working is how is kind of how I break up the monotony of my work day. I'm sitting there, I'll get a million cases done, then I'll go ahead and open up my Civ window or my Disgaea window, make a couple turns, all right, cool, and that kind of decompresses me a little bit between doing things. And then it was just that's kind of why I picked up Disgaea. I was like, man, everybody keeps talking about how good this game is. It's like Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah.
I like that kind of style of game. I'm going to go ahead and jump in and do it.
Yeah.
And I put probably about a good 10 hours into the game, and then I was like, it's too grindy. And that's impressive. If my takeaway from your game is it's too grindy,
you tried to make it grindy.
Right,
you tried to make it too grindy.
I've played Dark Souls. I've played Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the other things is that it does a lot of the same things that Final Fantasy Tactics does, where you have to level certain jobs to unlock other jobs.
Yeah.
But in Final Fantasy Tactics, it's cute and quaint because those are unique classes to Final Fantasy universe.
Right.
Whereas in Disgaea, it's to get a better fighter, just play as a fighter. To unlock a better brawler, play as a monk for a while. They aren't cute, fun, quippy classes.
Nope.
They're just upgraded versions of the previous class.
Yeah, all the fun happens in those games in the just weird as dick writing.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, that's the thing is that...
And I love the
and
characters and the world.
The universe is so cute. So the fact that you're this kid trying to take over hell again, that whole story angle is so much fun. It's got so much personality. But I cannot get through the grind. When I lost that 5th mission and the credits rolled, I was like, really? You're going to say that because I didn't grind far enough, you gave me a literal ending to the video
You got
game.
the bad ending 10 hours into a game you could spend hundreds and hundreds of hours playing.
That's my threshold for your game is too grindy. All right, let's go into entertainment.
You got punked.
I really did. I was so excited about it too. Sorry, I'm still getting over everything. Jesus Christ. Fuck me.
It's been a month, man.
It's been 2 weeks, all right.
You're an adult. You should be healed after a day.
Hey,
No, I'm old with a low immune system
That's right.
because I drink too much
And smoking.
and smoking.
So he's quitting all the things.
Yeah.
Quit all the things.
Not quitting all the things.
You gotta quit all the things, man.
Tony still hasn't given up Dick.
I mean,
Yeah.
how you going to do that? This guy's got to eat.
It's his high protein diet.
Yeah. Hey, that was funny for like 4 reasons.
Level 3, entertainment news.
Hey, adventurers, welcome back to the show. All right, we're going to start entertainment news this week getting sassy as fuck.
Fuck yeah.
I think these kids only say AF now. They're not allowed to
It's
curse.
Sassy AF.
Yeah, the kids
I don't
aren't
think
allowed
I
to
can
curse.
say AF with a straight face. Can I say sassy A fuck?
You can. You can. I am actually going to turn over this first subject in entertainment news this week to Hector because he brought it to my attention and I need time to get significantly angry about this. So, Hector, lead us off.
So, apparently in a move to remind us all exactly how old he is, Steven Spielberg came out after Roma was nominated for 10 Academy Awards and took home 3. Saying that Netflix movies need to not be at the Oscars, period. Now, the Academy has already tried to deny Netflix entry, even though they're making giant, award-winning content.
Yeah, no, they introduced it has to be a specific number of theaters, it has to be
Right.
like
So,
certain
so,
amount of
from what I,
time.
so from what I understand, it has to show for at least a week in New York and L.A.
Right.
to be qualified for the Oscars.
Correct. I think there are a couple of overseas requirements as well. But that being said, Netflix has complied with all of these demands over and over again.
No matter how ridiculous they are.
Exactly. It has been nominated for things. And this year, when you had a truly worthy movie win what it deserved, and even still was robbed for Best Picture by a Driving Miss Daisy clone.
Yeah, I'm still not happy about Blue Book winning, or Green Book, sorry.
Yeah.
Blue Book's the thing for how much cars cost. Green
Right.
Book is the book that tells black people where to not go.
Correct. So the point is that Spielberg came out and basically said, well, we need to change the rules further because we can't have Netflix winning. That's TV shit. This is my movie thing. This is my cinema. This should be coming down from on high. And honestly, when you break it all down, it really comes down to money and how Netflix has far too much of it and it is already whooping the film industry's ass left and right.
Right.
Yeah, no, when it came down to one of the talking points on this we should bring up is how much money Netflix spent
True.
in getting the names out for everything they wanted to be nominated for the Oscars.
Right, you're talking about the budget of a medium-sized movie. You're talking about $50 million.
And
at
we
least.
don't know that
Conservatively.
Conservatively, it was 25 million.
Yeah.
But it was between 25 and 50 million is what we know that they had to have spent on just advertising, saying we want to win an Academy Award.
Yeah.
No one comes close to this number.
So they're
Yeah.
saying that it's between 25 and 50 million essentially on marketing for this.
It's literally the cost of a movie.
Right.
Netflix spent a movie to win awards.
And the prevailing argument so far is that Netflix is cheating. It makes it too easy to see these movies because it brings them directly into your home.
Right.
How the fuck is this an argument for for you being the good guy?
Also, how is this an argument for the people voting for the Academy? Like, I'm sorry. They get handed copies of all this shit. It's not like they have to go out of their way to watch these movies. Netflix makes it easier for the everyday fucking dipshit to
So
watch
I do
these
have a
movies.
quote here.
Let's also not forget that Netflix also won Best Documentary Series for Period End of Sentence this year. So they had 2 major things come out on their platform win Oscars.
Yeah, there was a quote from Netflix that kind of came out at the tail end of all of this. Netflix said, "We love cinema. Here are some things that we also love. We love access for people who can't always afford or live in towns that don't have theaters. Letting everyone everywhere enjoy releases at the same time. And we love giving filmmakers more ways to share art. These things are not mutually exclusive."
You're goddamn right.
No, everything they stated there, I completely agree with. I grew up in a fucking small-ass town. We actually technically had 2 movie theaters. This was also like the late 80s, early 90s. We got movies 6 months after they were out of everywhere else. We had move from location to location because they only had a certain number of reels. These movies like Roma would have never come to my town.
Right.
I didn't know what anything. I knew what B movies were because we had really cool VHS stores.
I'm thinking back to the films that we used to watch growing up. If you had stayed in that town, you probably would have never seen something like Brazil.
No, I did because it was on. Actually, Netflix is where I think I first watched it. I don't think it was on VHS at that store. I think it was. I ordered it from Netflix.
Right, but those are things that like you never would have had the option to if Netflix didn't exist.
Right,
Yeah.
and
I mean, we had a really good VHS store. I still like it was Hollywood. Or no, it wasn't Hollywood Video. It was Showtime Video. Was a great. Because they had like 3 different locations in the town, and you could go there and rent movies. And I was there renting Toe Jam and Earl like every fucking week because that's what I did. Not joking. When I wanted to play this game a lot, because I rented that game a whole lot. I don't know why my parents just didn't buy it for me. I was renting it every week, but I was also always renting movies. Then my family was always renting movies because we didn't get enough coming in locally, so video rental was the only place to see them.
Yeah.
And what the fuck is Netflix? But basically, it killed video rental, so it replaced it. I get to watch more shit on Netflix than I do in the movie theaters.
And Netflix does have its defenders. We have people who worked on
not anymore. They're canceled now.
Oh yeah, the defenders are canceled. So
Nice joke.
that was actually well done. So the director Anna, let's see, it's Duvernay, worked on Wrinkle in Time, worked on Selma. Well, she said that the reason that she would defend Netflix is because when she directed The 13th, a very popular documentary on the prison system and how it affects people of color in the United States, says that it was seen in 190 countries. Wrinkle in Time didn't get that. Selma didn't get that. It was 13th by Netflix, and that matters. Bruce Campbell came out saying, sorry, but Roma was not a TV movie, Mr. Spielberg. Like, I mean, you're getting pushback. You're getting sass, which
So I'm
love.
going to make a little bit of a bold statement here, and I apologize if this offends somebody, but this is how I feel about the situation. What Steven Spielberg is saying about Netflix movies, and I'm using giant air quotes if you're not watching us live, is basically everything that is wrong with the Academy Awards.
Agreed.
It is old white people voting in these little things that they think are like the best movies of the year because that's what old white people want.
Right.
It is old Hollywood money changing hands. It is not bringing the best, the brightest, the strongest content that the general public will get to enjoy because it's on something like a Netflix platform.
Right.
You don't know, unless you were us sitting here at this panel.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if you look at a lot of the movies of the past that were nominated for Academy Awards, you didn't know most of them, and probably still don't know most of them, because they were very limited theatrical release.
Yep.
They got brought in right before the Oscar season started.
Which is the way to do
You
it.
watch the Oscars and go, okay, I don't know what the fuck that is, but I guess I should probably check it out now, right? Because I'm watching the Oscars.
Right.
Now I should go see this movie. Whereas something like Roma coming out on Netflix, it breaks down that wall of old white people fucking in Hollywood
Right.
saying, here's a movie for everybody to watch. Please enjoy it. If it's good, it will stand on its own merits.
Right. I mean, a perfect example is after I watched it, I messaged my mom. It's, about growing up in Mexico, which she partially did. I thought, you might want to check this out. She says, oh, it's on Netflix. Yeah, I watched it already. My mom watched this movie before I did. It recommended it to her because she watches a lot of stuff in Spanish on Netflix. It's like, oh, you might like this. And she fucking put it on. This Oscar-nominated movie. You know how many Oscar movies that I've said you should check out that she has? 0. Because she got to this one before me. So
Right.
technically she saw it before I had a chance to mention it to her. She didn't follow up with stuff like that. She doesn't give a shit. But on this platform, she saw the movie before I did. And she appreciated it. And she liked it.
So-
She didn't go out to watch it because
No.
it was an Oscar movie.
She would have never gotten to see this
It's
movie
because
in the
Netflix
theaters.
said you'd probably like this.
Yeah.
So that's so the Academy Awards itself has a problem with staying relevant, and it comes to
yeah.
this. It comes to this problem with basically every 20 years, and you notice roughly about every 20 years, some movies that win Best Picture totally are forgettable, and you never remember them in the history of ever again. Green Book is going to be
Book is
one of
going
those
to be
movies.
one of
One of those movies we go
For
down in
sure.
history of nobody's going to remember this movie. Why the hell did it
Nope.
even win Best?
We're gonna-
where there's
right.
so many more movies that came out this year that are worthy of that Best Picture
Yeah.
award.
We'll remember Black
than that one.
Klansman forever.
Yeah, no, Black Klansman is. I still haven't seen Green Book, but I have it. I'm waiting to watch it. I just haven't sat down to watch it yet. But I watched Black Klansman and it's like, motherfucker, Spike Lee made finally another movie that I enjoyed because the last couple I haven't enjoyed that much. But this was like, holy shit, this movie's fucking brilliant. I love this movie. I think that the Academy Awards has a hard time staying relevant, especially right now in the age that it's changing. Whenever so many, they started to say that even more categories are going behind commercial breaks, and getting offset to the day before,
the governor's ball,
where they basically half the awards. They do all the science and the cool shit, at least in my opinion, the cool shit awards there.
Those of us who love things like VFX and stuff.
Yes,
exactly.
We're huge fans.
Yeah, I mean, I love the costuming and the overall visual effects awards, but there's other things involved. There's science involved in filmmaking. It's the Academy of Arts and Sciences, not just making the cool movie that made a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Or a Netflix.
Oftentimes not the cool movie.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, but I get where Spielberg is coming from. For him, he's coming from an age where the Academy Awards were something else. Yes. Where film going was something else.
That's a good point.
And society has changed, and we can say it's the old man way of thinking.
Yeah.
But also, you have to think about generational gaps that exist.
Yeah. And I mean,
I just feel like he's on the wrong side of history.
Well, for sure. And the last movie he made was fucking Ready Player One. I mean, if you're going to talk of the entire movie is
His
about
poster
how
couldn't even get human proportions correct.
We're talking about an entire movie about the future where the way everyone consumes everything has changed. And how does he not understand this concept?
You know why?
Right now?
You know why he doesn't understand the concept, even with reading and making reading the book and making the movie. Because that book and movie were a love letter to the '80s, which is everything that he's most well known for.
I guess
So it was speaking specifically to him, saying, "I love you because you made the things that I love." Not, "I love you. Look at the cool spaceships and other shit that's going on." Spielberg wasn't the one that said, "Okay, we got to have the fucking Firefly in there from Serenity. We have to have all these other spaceships. We got to have Battletoads." No. People like us that were making the movie with him said, "Yeah, I'm totally going to put Battletoads in here. Here comes fucking Tracer running in."
Yeah.
Even though in the book would totally never be there because it's about the 80s and not the fucking 90s. But
all right, we've been
either
talking
way.
about this for quite a while. We need to go ahead and we got like a
Now
mini
he's getting me
epilogue.
sidetracked about why I still
was-
appreciate
It was going to be a big
Spielberg.
news item because it made me very salty.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other stuff that we have is kind of minor comparatively. It is important to note this week that Rotten Tomatoes made a big change to the way that they handle their rating system. Basically, a bunch of people got on the internet and downvoted Captain Marvel before it came out because there's a girl in the lead of a Marvel movie.
Yeah, I heard that movie stars a girl.
Yeah.
Gross.
Gross, right? And so they
I have a question. For at least a decent number of the population, aren't girls the thing they want to bang? So wouldn't they want to see them on TV?
Well,
Or
just
movies?
for clarification, just so we're all solid.
Like,
on
wouldn't they
this.
want to see more women on the screen?
No, it doesn't work like that, Tony.
So you
Because
have this,
that seems like a logical conclusion to me. Like, she's pretty. I want to see more of her on the screen, not less of her.
you have this superhero, right? This movie, with the superhero in it. No penis?
No penis.
no penis.
No penis.
No
yeah.
penis, no.
I don't get it.
Well, tiny.
I don't
women.
get it.
Very,
So
very
basically,
small, but
a
called the
bunch of
clitoris
peop-
instead.
A bunch of people online were confused because there's a superhero movie that doesn't involve a penis, and so they went and downvoted the movie.
Or maybe there's not enough, or not specifically. The penis isn't placed correctly. for
Right,
them.
exactly.
Yeah.
So then they went.
I-
Rotten
maybe she
Tomatoes,
does
after
too,
all this
so.
time, finally just went. You know what? I'm done dealing with you people. So you can no longer pre-rate a movie before it comes out.
In what universe was it ever a good idea to let people rate movies before their release date?
I don't think that they thought about it.
Honestly,
Well,
in
how
some
could you not?
cases, whenever
okay.
Justin Bieber's movie came out, it was already down. It was listed as the worst movie of all time before it came out,
Right.
and it's still listed as the worst movie of all time before it since then. So I think pre-rating sometimes is completely justified.
No. Sometimes it is accurate. That does not make it justified.
Sometimes, but not always, is it okay to slap somebody in the face. If they're a Nazi, slap them in the face.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
That's
it's always-
right before
always
the
slap
punch.
Just because sometimes it's okay does not mean it should be the standard across the board.
It's like if there was a lottery to murder one person a year, and every once in a while that person was a real piece of shit. We probably shouldn't still have the lottery.
Exactly.
We should cancel that.
I'm interested in this lottery. Tell me more.
There's a book called The Lottery.
Is that not
you should
Stephen
probably,
King?
You should probably no. It's
No,
not,
it's not?
Stephen
Okay.
King.
It seems like something.
No,
he would
we had to
write.
read The Lottery in high school. I can't remember who wrote it, but yeah, it was a
Did only one person have to read it?
no.
Oh, that'd be a way funnier. Like,
Okay, so our last little bit of entertainment news for the week is a bit of a strange one, actually. Apparently, an unnamed streaming service has given the green light to make a TV series based on the movie The Sandlot. This movie, or this TV series, is going to be set 20 years after the events of the movie, The Sandlot,
Okay, you're
Where-
killing me with this explanation, Smalls.
where apparently
Killing me.
they're going to be bringing in all the original actors to play older versions of themselves.
Okay.
Okay. It's been roughly 30 years, but all right, they
Now,
can play younger.
The kicker to this whole thing is that they announced all of this stuff, like saying, like, yes, it's coming. It's going to be 2 seasons, unnamed streaming service, going to have all the actors back. And then a bunch of the actors got on Twitter and said, I don't think anybody's talked to us about
We're
this.
doing what?
Like, I'm a dentist
Like,
now.
when did I sign that contract that I was going to be doing a Sandlot TV
This
show?
is the old Michelle Rodriguez sitting there in Fast and Furious 6 watching the end credits going, what the fuck? I'm in the next movie?
Yeah, when that's going to happen. Now, there have been sequels to The Sandlot. Those were not as well received. This second one, I believe, actually had R.I.P. Luke Perry.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are in this weird generation right now where we're working past the reboot phase of our lives. We had so many years of doing reboots.
Yeah. Mhm.
Now we're doing this thing where we're going to make sequels and we're just going to make everybody
It's
older.
nostalgia fucking.
It is, but it's a different type
so,
of
so here's
nostalgia
the thing
fucking.
that you said that immediately soured me on this entire thing is you said a sequel based on the events of the first movie. The events of the first movie are some kids get together and play baseball, and then one of them loses a ball, and then they get it back.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is a coming of age story.
But those are the events of the movie.
Yeah,
So
it's-
basically,
there was that
these
very
kids who used
traumatic
to play
moment.
baseball together and all moved away are going to come back and probably play a game of baseball for 2 seasons. How can this possibly be anything but
there needs
awful?
to be an entire episode dedicated to the kid who faked drowning so he could make out with the lifeguard. Like that, I need to know where
That
that
doesn't
plot line
even
went.
fly anymore. And at the end of that movie, he marries that girl. You can't do that shit now. You
I
can't.
just thought that was gonna be like the end of the credits, like is now like a sexual predator on a
Lord.
watch list.
Yeah, no
Like
kidding.
that's just the end of like how that whole thing goes.
Oh god! But like, you
We
can't
don't-
even have the dog anymore. That dog's dead. They're
That's-
old.
That dog's like grandkids are dead.
Yeah.
I'm gonna probably file this under bad idea.
Yeah, most things that are made are bad ideas.
You know what? I would have said Cobra Kai was a bad idea, and that was awesome. So
I've heard nothing but good things.
Cobra Kai is amazing, and everyone who even just has heard of the Karate Kid should watch Cobra Kai.
Honestly, all right. So we a couple weeks ago, we were in the break room during lunch and had AMC on or whatever, and it was doing their '80s movies and Karate Kid. They were doing all 3 Karate Kid movies.
Yes, my
And
kind of party.
immediately, every single person that came into the room and realized Karate Kid was playing was like, "Have you seen Cobra Kai?" Like every single
important.
person.
It's like the one thing YouTube Reddit has done that anybody wants to watch.
No one gives a fuck about any of the rest of it, but Cobra Kai was brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, well, the kids that were younger came in. They're like, "Oh, cool, the kicking movie's on," but and they had it didn't really resonate for them. But everybody who was like in their mid-20s to 30s was like, "Dude, Cobra Kai is awesome."
I literally grew up watching a VHS of Karate Kid 2, and like if I hear that flute in my head, I like basically start doing kata uncontrollably.
All right, that's everything we have for entertainment news this week. We're going to take a small break, and we come back. We'll be going into our final segment, the epilogue.
I still click save file. I can just do the button.
You have a button for that now.
Uncontrollable Kata is a great name for a band.
It would be.
It sounds like a band that's coming to South by next week.
Probably.
Ugh. Oh, so I don't know if you read that, but I told them the other night, South by is officially dead and over. Like, we can't have it again. Like, this has to be the last year.
Okay.
ICP is doing an acoustic set.
So we've peaked, is what you're saying.
Yeah, we're done. We're done.
Well, there's no
Cancel
more
it.
music
I
at
was
South
saying,
by.
I was like, color me intrigued.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
you know what I don't want to do though? I don't want to go to a place with a bunch of ICP fans.
True.
IP.
And it's not in
ACP.
It's not in downtown. It's at Come and Take It, so it's the east side. It's like a super offshoot thing. So it's basically ICP decided to come and do an acoustic show in Austin the same weekend as South by.
If only they didn't tell any of their fans, I'd be like, I'd like to see that.
Yeah,
You know, I would
I might
honestly.
even buy a
I
ticket
don't
for
like
that.
ICP. I would go see that as long as there were nobody there liked
there's
ICP.
literally
no
no
juggling.
Everybody
juggalos.
there hated it and went like, "We hate this band. we have to see how awful this is.
And like no makeup, like not even on girls casually, like
Yeah.
zero makeup in the building.
This has to be the Kiss like off makeup album. That's what I want to fucking see. If you're doing acoustic, you got to go Kiss with makeup free.
And they have to do the weird "Everything Is Magic" song, but
Yes.
all acoustic.
Yes, absolutely.
I literally don't even know a single SCP song.
But
I've heard them, and this is fucking awful.
You've heard the meme
Oh, is this the
magnets. How the fuck
magnets?
do they work? That's what that's from.
Yeah. I would go see it.
I would, like I said, if their
only out
fans
of
weren't there.
morbid curiosity, I would.
And
go see
I'm
it.
good with weird fans. I grew
Yeah.
up listening to MSI. I've been to like 7 of
Yeah,
their
I
concerts.
bet.
Who has worse fans that have been to their shows? Because I know there's at least one. Diantward. Ooh, yeah. Those are some crazy fucking people. I still won't go see anything with juggalos near it.
Yeah, no.
Lord, no. I've
fact
seen a
that they have-
documentary on them. I was terrified.
Yeah, no, those people are disgusting.
I listened to ICP for like 5 minutes when I was 18. But also, it's because I went to Michigan, and in Michigan, it's like almost required. that
I was
you
gonna say it's like that and
You get a
It's like-
you're
it's
like
like-
you're
it's
immediately
like-
you get there
it's
you
like-
get there you get like a Bud Light, a fucking Chris Rock Kid Rock mullet, and you fucking they paint your face like a fucking juggalo,
And you listen to a lot of
and
Eminem.
they like give you a 40 of Fago, and they're like, here you go, faggot.
Yeah,
That's Michigan in the 90s.
Yeah,
That's what they
yeah.
said.
That's
Okay,
about right.
They did.
I apologize. I did not mean to say it that
Tony's
way.
making it so that I have to delete another YouTube video. It's fantastic.
Or learn to edit
Be
things.
the,
yeah, just give it
be the second.
You can literally cut things out.
All right, let's do this.
Did your voice good? Are we going?
Yeah, we're good.
Let's do it.
No, see, all right, so yeah, that's the thing is now like it's being verified now. That's the long way we went a long way of saying now you have to be verified, or at least you have to wait till the release date for the thing.
Correct.
It's like Amazon's. You actually purchase this option or you purchase this product review system.
Yeah, like
Which is
definitely
great.
has seen it, right? Like,
Yeah, like
it-
person actually bought this, and this is their review of it. And you're like,
like
okay,
if
cool.
Netflix is smart because they have that thumbs up, thumbs down system, they probably only count them if you've like towards the total if you've seen the actual
Yeah,
thing.
but for things like Rotten Tomatoes, they can't guarantee that you've seen it. So,
no, there's no way to tell.
yeah.
All right, let's do this.
Epilogue.
Hey, adventurers, welcome back to the show. This is the epilogue. This is our main talking point for the podcast, sometimes related to the news, sometimes not. This week, I wanted to have just a fun panel discussion. We are all gamers here on the panel. And we are
From time
all,
to time.
We are
I've been
all,
known to pick up a controller.
we are fascinated by the inner workings of the games industry. So while we don't professionally work in that environment, we do follow developers and the development cycle of games, and we're really into kind of the nuances of how games are made, just as a general curiosity, because we're fucking nerds and that's what we do.
Yeah.
So as the games industry kind of continues to kind of grow and evolve, there is a lot of potential, specifically right now, for us to have a almost replicated version of the video game crash of 1983. During 1983's video game crash, there was an oversaturation of games. Everybody was rushing to be the next big game developer to make millions off of video games. There were lots of factors that contributed to it. It was not just the game ET. That is a falsehood. Do not listen to that.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of factors involved that were around greed in 1983 that caused the big video game crash to happen. And while I don't think anything of that magnitude is really primed to happen anytime soon, I think it's important that we kind of take a moment, look at what's going on in the world of gaming right now, and see what we can do to keep the genre of video, the medium of video games moving forward instead of having the bubble burst like it did last time. So this kind of discussion leads me to my first question, which is, what are some of the major problems that we can see just as people who observe the games industry? None of us work in it. What are some of the major problems that we see in the games industry right now?
I mean,
Greed.
well,
Like insanely just greed. Like look at EA, like hands down. Look at EA's practices over the last couple of years. It's just massive amounts of just greed for the sake of we want your money and we don't care how we get it for. and it goes into microtransactions. That goes into not just EA, but many other companies.
Right, yeah. I mean, let's not forget that most of this was invented by Activision before and after they.
Sorry, I was thinking about Activision. Sorry, I was
right.
meant that,
But I mean, neither
EA's
here
still
nor there.
blamed.
It doesn't really matter who invented the concept of the loot box. What matters is that they became prevalent. The biggest problem, I think, in the video game industry right now is no one knows how to charge you for something without making you feel gross about it. We used to have. And I don't want to put on my old man hat, but we used to just buy a completed game for one price when it was done. It was the old Miyamoto axiom, you know, a late game is late for a little while, a bad game is bad forever if released on time. And we've gotten away from that now that we can just patch things infinitely after they release. We're just trying to hit that release date. So there's greed at that point. There's greed in the way that they're treating their employees. They're working them to death to the point where it's become like a badge of honor if you work for an indie studio and they say, we're not doing perpetual crunch time. We don't ask you to come in on weekends. We ask you to have a work-life balance. And most people in the industry do not get to work that way. And we see greed in the way that they deal with us, with the way that they charge us for games and then charge us for additional content later. And then do weird predatory things designed to ensnare children to gamble on your games with your loot boxes like Fortnite or even just with regular cosmetics. I mean, you talk to kids all the time. On stream, you'll see people playing Fortnite and talking to kids who they see that outfit is like, you see that outfit that one's wearing? That's a kid who called my mom gay. That outfit that kid's character is wearing costs $180. Like, that's a free game.
Fuck that.
Yeah. I mean, what on earth is going on where that happened anywhere in the world? Yeah. And that's the state of the game industry now. And it's not that games are bad. They're as good as they've ever been, if not, really... climbing the peak of like what we can expect from games artistically, but the way that we're being charged for them is getting more and more predatory as time goes on. And even when something seems good, it can be used to exploit us in the long run. Things like the Origin Premier Access or Xbox Pass. If, for an example, I'm not saying this is a case, far from it, but if Microsoft had that $10 pass and then just decided to release like 2 or 3 games a year and be like, people will just leave it. I'm sure Origin is doing that right now. People will just leave their subscription
EA actually
on.
literally has like 2 games planned for the rest of this year, I think.
Right, and they have a lot of games that they didn't publish specifically that are still available on their pass, but by a lot, I mean like maybe 15 total. So, I mean, they don't release games that often, and they just kind of count on people to leave their subscription on as if because they forget to cancel them, basically.
It's what HBO does. They're like, you bought it for Game of Thrones, and maybe you'll just forget to turn it off until Game of Thrones comes back on.
Yeah, I mean, and they've been doing that since The Sopranos. I mean, The Sopranos ushered in the platinum of television.
But HBO has never been greedy about it.
Oh no! Well, HBO has literally never increased their price.
They're like, we're $10. We don't give a shit.
I remember when HBO Go was announced, and they were asked by an interviewer like several months after it came out. They said, "So how do you guys feel about like people just giving out their HBO Go logins to their friends? And like, do you keep track of that?" And they're like, "No, we don't care.
Yeah,
at least more people. At least
we
more people
literally
are
just want you to watch the thing. The more you talk about the thing, gets other people more to buy it. We literally don't care.
They believe that more people would buy the service.
Oh yeah,
by handing it out than just preventing
Dude,
people from doing
it's drug culture.
True.
Give them one and get them hooked, and then keep going.
It's 100% true. I was at a friend's house during the last season of Game of Thrones while it was ending. We were having like a pool party because it was the middle of summer, and he's like, "I guess it's a Game of Thrones watch party now because it's the finale's tonight and it's like Sunday night. Let's all get in here." And we're all like,
in a half an hour, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, and we're all caught
First
up.
off, your friend's fucked up because you should have had a giant inflatable projection screen.
Yeah, we should
if
have.
You're really doing this right.
No, we didn't get to stay in the pool. We all had to go inside.
See,
unfortunately,
that's wrong.
It is wrong. But so we
got a season coming up pretty soon, by the way.
We all watched Game of Thrones, and I sat there going, and he had HBO Now just on his TV, and he streamed it right to his like TV in his living room, and I was like, that's pretty classy. And there are like 4 shows I want to watch on HBO. I'll subscribe to it for like a month, and I'm still subscribed. And I watched something on HBO before I came over here. I watch Last Week Tonight every week.
That's what I was watching before you came over here.
I just finished The Leftovers. I still have a couple episodes of Room 104. I have the 3rd season of True Detective I'm not through yet.
I'm so behind on Room 104.
There's a lot on that service to love.
But what we're saying is like, Whereas HBO is doing it right, and Microsoft seems to be doing it right
Yeah.
with their subscription things. Things like Origin Access are doing it okay. They can run into the problem later on of being forgetful to the people who are paying the money, who are they're not going to give people reasons to stick
Right.
around and keep earning that money.
Right, but we're sitting here talking about literally the friendliest pricing practice the game industry has ever come across since I was a child. And we're thinking, how are they going to fuck us over this time? Because we've been fucked over so many times. By
Yeah, no, whenever I
pricing.
look at, like, right now, if I look at, like, Microsoft's Game Pass, I'm like, all right, it's default $10 a month. That's $120 a year. That's 2 games.
Yeah.
I will actually play way more than 2 games off of that service.
Hell yeah.
There are so many more games than that. It's actually a good deal. And this is whenever the company's going to have to take that look at what does a game actually cost. I personally would rather pay $90 for a game if there was 0 advertising in it, if there was 0 microtransactions, if there was 0 loot boxes, if there was 0 any of the shit that I find annoying. Just give me the game finished day one without any extra crap. I will literally give you more money. I will wait and give you more money if you just get your head out of your ass.
Yeah.
I can give you
So,
$60 and be annoyed and make bad press, or you can give me 3 months, I give you $30 more, and we're all happy.
Right. So basically, and I'm going to use this. This is not
Publishers are
not the
fucked.
greatest example, but it's pretty close. Spider-Man for the PlayStation.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So you can buy the game for $60. Right. There is a lot of additional content you get for free. By the way, they gave a lot of additional content just for free.
Oh, a ton.
Yeah, they added all the different suits and stuff. They're like, here you go, more suits
Yeah.
and stuff.
There were 3 DLCs that they had planned in the chamber for the game. They said, "All right, here's the deal. So you can buy the game for 60 and then buy the DLCs for 10, 15 bucks a piece, or just buy the gold edition of the game. It's going to cost you 80,
Yeah.
but it's going to be cheaper than buying all the DLCs separately." And that's it. You're never going to be bothered about anything else again unless we make another set of
You know,
DLCs.
exactly what I said.
That's what you get to
80,
buy.
90
Yeah.
bucks. I get all of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm not getting anything else. You're not going to nickel and dime me.
Yeah.
There's no you gotta pre-order this special edition to unlock this suit that gets this power that gets you this other DLC
Nope.
content to do this other
It's all
thing.
in.
No.
It's literally I gave you 90 bucks. You give me all the thing.
Yeah, and let's not forget about games like Rainbow Six Siege that has such an incredibly weird pricing model and ways that, like,
I don't even understand how that game works.
7 different ways to buy the game that I've had to look up YouTube videos on how to do this correctly, how to buy the game and get all the things for the least amount of money. Ubisoft doesn't know. They didn't make a chart about how to do it. The same is true for the recent Hitman games that have come out, because you can buy like Hitman 2 and get all of the Hitman 1 stuff, but you can also get a bunch of extra Hitman 2 things in it. And you literally have to like buy 2 different incomplete versions of Hitman 2 to get all of that. Like none of
weird.
it makes any sense. I don't think Square Enix planned it out when they put it on Steam. They're just like, there's this and this and this. What's everything? Who knows?
Okay.
No,
Um,
no,
so-
it comes
so-
down to
and
bad
this is-
planning.
So that brings me to my next question, though. Is there an issue with the budget / scope of AAA titles right now? We keep talking about how we're willing to buy in at a $90 price point for a video game. But do we think the games have maybe just gotten too big?
100%.
Oh, hell yes.
Well, think about what we had just in this last year. How many first-person shooters have we gotten? A dozen, maybe half a dozen of like really, really good ones. How many even remotely good single-player first-person shooters have we gotten? One. Metro Exodus. That's it. You could say Far Cry if you really wanted to, but that was an open world game, and there were some pretty interesting narrative things, but then the rest was just open world shenanigans the whole time. That's not what I'm talking
and
about.
factor in
I'm talking about a world where we could create Portal, where we could create an 8-hour, fully single player, fully immersive game that was just over when it was over, and that was it. And then, spawned Portal 2 later.
I don't think that Portal even came in at a high price point. I want to
No,
say that
I don't think it was full
I
price.
thought Portal was a
Guys,
budget title.
Guys, Portal came out as the Orange Box collection for $20.
Yeah.
Portal was released with 4 other games for $20.
And this comes right back to greed all over
or was it
again.
$40? Either way,
Yeah, it was something
stupidly
like
low
that.
price point. But
Yeah.
you got Team Fortress 2, Portal, Half-Life
2 episode 1.
Episode 1, and was I think episode 2 as well.
Episode 2, it came with Orange Box 2, didn't it?
And,
Okay.
Yeah.
And you got Portal, Half-Life, Team Fortress, and one other game that I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, there's one other thing in there.
It wasn't Left 4 Dead, but it was another game.
Right.
And they're like, here you go. There's like 4 games for, I think it was either 20 or $40.
Yeah.
It was 40 at start.
It may have been 40 at start. Then like I think like
still a lot of games for 40
It was
bucks.
$40, and then a month later dropped to 20. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And I remember buying it the day it came out. Like I didn't pre-order it, but I was like, this game Portal looks super interesting because I'd followed the company, or not company, the college kids that designed the games before they got that. Valve only bought their like college course and said, yeah, come over here, we're hiring you, you're making this thing.
Yeah.
And it became Portal, and I was like, holy shit, this game's amazing.
But when I talk about the budget and scope of AAA titles, what I mean is you take something
Portal's
like
not a
Anthem,
AAA title.
and we do need to kind of dial this back.
was when it came out.
Keep
Portal's
something
never
like
a AAA
Anthem.
title.
Keep something like Anthem in mind as we talk about this. Anthem is a game that was expected to make a lot of money, and a lot of money was poured into it. But now we see the release product, and we're going, man, there's no content. Like, it looks pretty, but there's no content for it.
Right.
Was the budget so high and our expectation of it so high that, you know, it was basically trying to be too big to fail at that point?
Yeah, it was advertised as an online service, which is the new code word for, like, not quite an MMO.
Right.
And there was not enough content to justify that. There was enough content to justify, like, a really cool single-player experience.
Yeah.
They didn't make that. They decided to make this shell of a Destiny clone with not even as much content as Destiny 1 launched with. And that is hard to say out loud.
Oof.
So-
all right, so that before we get past this point, with the thing with the Anthem is definitely like hands down a AAA title,
Right.
But whenever it came out to its release, it shot itself in the foot. And this wasn't EA shooting the foot with the release of Apex Legend. It was they had this stupid tiered beta system. They had the early access week if you bought this one version of it, but other access, even if you spent the $120 gold edition, didn't get that week access. Its early access is killing these games. If this game had launched, if it had like one private beta and it got the hype train going for the few people that were able to get into that and do the streaming for it and go, oh, look, this game's awesome, but only like, you know, a couple thousand people got into it, and the game launched for everybody on the exact same day, it would have sold even more and still would be selling right now, even with all the bad reviews.
So you think
But
early access really
because
hurt
of,
games?
because of the tiered way people were able to pussyfoot around playing the game, everybody got their fill in little individual pockets without actually having to give them the full $60. The game still made a shitload of money. Anthem still made a shitload of money. Whether it's going to, I mean, whether it succeeds or not after this point, its release still functioned. Its release would have been better had they actually timed their release correctly and not made this stupid 7-tier release schedule.
The release would have been better, but the game wouldn't have been any better.
No, the game still would have been a giant piece of shit, but it would have
Right.
sold better because
But
they,
see, that's why I don't like
but
that
would
point.
have, that would have given them the budget to be able to go back and correct things.
Maybe, but they're EA. They have all the money in the world.
Sure, but I mean, in a world where Anthem was made by a smaller studio, that would have given them the budget to come and fix it.
Right. I mean, we live in a world, in a video game ecosphere where someone like Amy Hennig, for anyone who doesn't know, basically captain of the ship for the first 3 Uncharted games. Some of the best single-player games ever made.
Some of the best video games ever made.
Literally every action-adventure game now is based on this template. All the Tomb Raiders, pretty much everything is based on trying to feel like Uncharted. Even The Last of Us, to a certain extent. All just, the pedigree was Uncharted. Always was. Amy Hennig last year wrote an article about how there's just not much room for single-player games in the industry anymore. And she's not talking from a narrative perspective. She's not talking about what people want. She's talking about budgetary. She says, if I want to make a AAA single-player game, no one's going to give me the money for that.
The only people that are going to give you money for it are named Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony.
Right.
They're the only ones that give a shit about playing single-player games anymore because that's what will sell a system.
Because that's what sells the consoles.
Everybody
I
else
hate
is
to
a
bring
third-party
this
developer,
up.
and they want everybody to give them as much money as possible for doing the least amount of work.
Oh yeah, and I hate to fucking. Honestly, it's just like taking a cattle prod to myself at this point. But there's a reason why Konami's done what they've done.
Oh, yeah.
There's a reason why Metal Gear and Silent Hill and Contra are now pachinko machines and no longer video games.
It's way cheaper to make like
cheaper
one
to make.
image and have some flashing lights.
And people are willing to go to a pachinko parlor and just gamble on a Silent Hill machine because it's cute and it's quaint and it's Silent Hill themed.
Yeah.
There's a freaking
Doesn't seem like a
X-rated.
good idea to gamble
There's an
in Silent
X-rated.
Hill.
There's literally an X-rated Castlevania pachinko machine that exists
That doesn't
because
surprise
it made
me.
them money. Right? They didn't care about the license or the IP.
No.
They didn't want to make those single-player experiences anymore. They wanted where the money is, and it is. This is all going back to greed. I totally understand that. Now, taking greed out of the equation for a second. I know we're talking about a lot of about budgets when it comes to developing AAA titles. Do we think that video games still being tied to a physical release is still a problem?
Oh yeah.
There's no reason for it anymore.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
the-
it's one thing like, yeah, the game releases in stores on this day. Cool. But if I pretty much know about video games at all these days, it's because I have the internet.
Yeah, no. Like,
At least in
and you're
this
going
country.
to order your game. Let's say even if you order it from Walmart, you're not going to Walmart to pick that up.
Yeah.
Right.
You're having them send it to you. You're going to order it off Amazon, or you're going to order it off GameStop Online, or you're just going to download it digitally on the game platform you're using anyway.
Right.
This idea of going to a store to buy a physical release of something is super old and antiquated.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, to provide an example for that, recently a copy of Kingdom Hearts: The Story So Far just showed up in our apartment.
Yeah, and I was telling you, it's like you can just go download that
Right,
right
right.
now.
The only
and you were
reason-
like, I need it.
No, the only reason I bought a physical copy of that game is because it was being bought out everywhere. And I was like, well, everybody's selling out on this game. I'm going to go ahead and order my copy online.
Yours is more of a,
And,
and it's for the collector's market. I get having the physical release for a collector's market, but we've said on the show before.
Yeah.
You know what a great collector's market is? All the additional bullshit for like an additional $90, we just mail it to you, and everybody gets a digital copy of the game, and nobody gives a shit. We're all happy.
Yeah, you know what? I would, at this point, almost just not expect a physical copy of a game with my collector's edition.
most of the time you don't. You
Yeah.
get a code.
Exactly.
That's all you get.
And I'm good with that. And there are some really great collector's editions, and we know there's a lot of fucking bad ones, way more bad
So
ones than
many
there are
bad
good
ones.
ones. But, I mean, that makes sense. And, I mean, yes, there are studios spending way too much money when they're Call of Duty advertising before your favorite Marvel movie, or whatever they do in shitty theaters outside of Austin.
Dude, no, YouTube,
I say
is,
as I
YouTube is
put on my top hat.
a abysmal wasteland of shitty Sony commercials before every YouTube video. It is.
I haven't watched a YouTube commercial in a really
Oh, dude, I don't pay for YouTube
Okay, so
commercial free, and it's
games-
annoying at this point. I'm like,
so
cool,
games
I don't
being
want to play
tied
that
to a
game.
physical release does make the game more expensive, and yet we're still not paying more for the games. Right?
True,
Like-
but I mean, how many indie studios have just not released a physical
There's this
version?
thing called
Most of them?
inflation. Games cost more to make now, even if it's just not even AAA titles.
Oh, yeah.
We should pay more for them.
And that's fine.
By default. But also, we technologically have evolved to where we have internet access and don't need to go to deal with manufactured goods.
Sure.
So maybe we figure out that nice balance of we're not going to manufacture a disc and digital distribution is cheaper, so we can keep it at 60 and not make you buy loot boxes.
Right.
It's true. That's true. Okay, so
There's a fix for you.
We've been talking a lot about greed in the industry and kind of how that's been affecting game development as a whole. I want to talk about the actual background of game development, the actual developers themselves.
Yeah.
So we are hearing a lot of stories about how not only that in the world of game development, a lot of developers are being treated like shit.
Oh, yeah.
Like we hear these stories where, hey, a company like CD Projekt Red really takes care of their employees because they give them actual time off to go spend time with their family. But it's a rarity. So what do video game developers need to do to keep their talent working in an industry that a lot of people see as oversaturated?
Unionize.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
literally it's greed is the problem. Unionization is the answer.
yeah, unionize together so that your employee can't treat you like shit. And you know what? If you're a video game developer company, treat your employees better. Just solid across the board. I don't care if you're CD Projekt Red. I don't, whoever you are, just make every effort to treat your employees better so that the most talented people come to you. Start that bidding war.
All right.
Be the company that's like, yeah, when you work here for us, you get, definitely, guaranteed vacation, guaranteed overtime pay. Doesn't care what country we're in or if we're legally required to pay you overtime. You're working your balls off, and here's your overtime. Here's your free food. Here's your hours off to go visit your family in between whatever crunch we're doing for whatever god-awful reason, because we need to fucking fix something. Whatever the realities of making a game are, do your best to make your employees feel like human beings while they're working on your goddamn game.
The way I look at it, I completely agree with Hector on this. It's if you are making your own company right now, let's just say somebody listening to the show is like, I'm making my own gaming studio tomorrow. You, as the now head of that studio, need to take into consideration what you want from your job. You want to be able to spend time with your family, make a good product, do things, have a life, and still do your job. Now take that and give it to everybody who fucking works for you.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
They deserve the exact everything that you want out of your magical CEO life. Everybody else wants too.
Yeah.
So maybe make that fucking happen, and the world will be a slightly happier place.
And let's not forget that these people, a lot of them, like even like to a certain extent, the coders are artists. How are you going to starve and sleep deprive an artist and expect them to make good work?
It's true.
Well, I
Absolutely.
mean, eventually you start becoming with some really crazy ideas if you're not sleeping.
Yeah.
And that's the entire Alice series.
So as we start to wrap this whole thing up, I think that one of the parallels that we like to make on the show a lot is kind of where the video game industry is in comparison to Hollywood. We often say that the video game industry is kind of in the talkies and right now, right? We have color.
Yeah, we got-
have
yeah.
Well, we just got audio. We're not to color yet.
Right,
we
right.
just got. We're in the talkies.
Technicolor's not
yeah,
there
Technicolor
yet.
hasn't happened yet. We're still in the early stages of creation because you have to take. If it took 100 years to get where we are in filmmaking, and you have to squish that down and amplify the amount of time
Right.
we are because it's an accelerated pace because
Yeah,
technology
considering
increases.
that it was Mario walking this way onto his first
And that
Goomba
was-
in 85, 84?
And that could be considered the magic lantern.
Yeah.
You're literally putting pieces of stained glass in front of a candle, and people are like amazed
Like a
by it.
phantasmagoria.
That's that kind of level. And then we're not even to like the Nickelodeon area. We're not talking about the television channel,
Right.
but the actual thing where you put a nickel in, and you saw some. Okay, just naked ladies dancing.
Yeah.
But we're not even to that point. I mean, we're kind of Nickelodeon in the idea that Steam's nothing but porn games. But
So we do talk a lot about these comparisons between the video game industry and Hollywood, and how they are sharing a lot of similarities. So that kind of begs me to the final question for the panel as we talk about how the video game industry can be saved from itself. What can game developers really learn from the history of Hollywood right now?
that's. I wish I kind of knew that question beforehand so I could actually think of a full
it's,
answer for this because I've
think
got a couple
about-
different tiers.
To think about exactly what you just said about Steven Spielberg. How many execs do you think throughout history, and there's probably a lot of Hollywood stories that we don't know because we're not in the biz, but how many people out there do you think are on the wrong side of history when it comes to so much that happened in film? When it comes to, actors speaking with, foreign accents because Americans won't like that, or this movie has to have a horse in it to play to the Midwest. All that stupid bullshit where people thought they...
Years of blackface.
Right, the years and years of blackface and of not having any colored representation on screen at all. Years and years and years of that, where people finally broke out. Like, we need to understand, and it's, a very maybe easy thing to say, we need more diversity, but like embrace the diversity, I think is my thing. Like, if you think an idea, and I'm not talking about race or gender or whatever social issues we're dealing with, but if you think something is outside the box, if you think something might not be a good story for the medium of video games, try harder.
Right.
Try and make it into something that really does relate to people, because the thing about video games that no other medium has is it makes you feel like you're doing what you're seeing more than any other medium. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of cool tricks you can do with a camera to make you feel like you're in the room with the people on the screen, but nothing makes you feel like that, like pressing a button and having a character move.
Is a weird example. I mean, I've definitely seen a lot of Spider-Man movies on the screen.
Oh, yeah.
But it wasn't until like I was playing the PS4 Spider-Man that I ever felt like I was Spider-Man.
Exactly.
Like, and if you can take that concept and extrapolate it to other values that are maybe different races, sexuality, make me feel those feelings. Like it will probably make me cry in a corner. But tell me the story of somebody who's coming out, is homosexual and their parents hate them.
Yeah.
Right. Like, make me hurt because like tell me that, make me feel that experience. That's something that we can do with the medium of video games. Feel free to explore that territory that so few films are willing to do.
Right. How, I mean, if it can make you feel like Spider-Man, it's not much of a leap to have it make you feel like an immigrant.
Yeah.
Have it make you feel like, you know, a member of an ostracized class, no matter what country you're coming from. A member of the wrong gender at the wrong time in the wrong place. There's so much there that can make people empathize with each other. And these are all the types of movies that we celebrate, even just recently at the Oscars. Let's get more of this type of stuff, more of the type of stuff that really makes us connect with our fellow man. That video games is just
that's something
ready
that
for that
we
type
talked
of
about
shit.
a really long time ago. Was the disconnect or what video games can learn just from the film industry as itself?
Yeah.
Because films allow you to empathize more directly with a character, with a story, because of the actors being portrayed in it, the overall story, because you're not involved in making those choices.
Right.
Whereas a video game, you are actively involved in it, which you think would allow you to become more emotionally invested in that character. But so far, we haven't been quite there just yet. The games industry has yet to find that magic mix, which is, again, why I said we haven't reached color yet.
Right.
We're still in the learning how to tell stories.
We're getting to the point, and just very recently in games, stuff like The Witcher and God of War recently.
drink.
We're gonna get
Get drink.
We're gonna get
It's been a while.
we're gonna. That's only because I've been gone for 2 weeks. It's probably been 3
We
weeks.
did drink when we mentioned it when you weren't here, though.
Good. We're starting to see our in-game characters' facial expressions emote to the point where just by the look on a character's face, I will feel emotions. I will want to tear up. We're getting to the point where they can emote correctly, and we will, as humans, react to it. So we're on our way. We're so close to getting like a really meaningful performance out of something.
So what I'm hearing kind of to bring this whole thing to a head is we're talking about the games industry as a whole, and we're saying what can we do to prevent the bubble from bursting to be like it was in the past. The major factors are things like, create more games that we can connect with on a human level. Is obviously a very strong one that we've kind of all agreed with. Maybe don't invest so much money into a product that is going to possibly fail, like Anthem.
Invest in people, not a product.
Yes, definitely invest in people, not a product. And the final point that we really seem to be driving home over and over again that we still keep coming back to is that care about your players. Don't take advantage of them.
Yeah.
Don't be greedy. Like, this is an industry where you can make millions upon millions of dollars.
Gamers are people, not a wallet.
Right.
Yeah, no shit.
I'm sorry I'm boiling down these things down in like just simple phrases, but for some CEOs, you gotta boil it down to like 3 words, or
Yeah.
people in charge are just too stupid to understand it.
It's gotta be a
you
marketing
have to
catchphrase.
I mean,
catchphrase it.
there's a reason that there's a reason that they call, and this goes all the way back to like Las Vegas, but they call high rollers whales because you don't. It's best not to consider them a person. I mean, and we say that now about 13-year-old
It's a big, giant,
kids.
dumb thing that's in here to give me a lot of fat.
Right, and we say the same thing now about 13-year-old kids with their dad's credit card. It's like, oh, we got a whale. Let's fucking get all the oil out of it.
Yep. It's very true. Yeah, there's so many factors that go into the games industry and the way that it is. And we're not saying that the bubble's going to burst anytime soon, but we're saying is that if we don't make some serious changes, like in the world of game development, we're going to see an industry that is ground to a halt due to its own greed, its own opulence is going to take over at that point.
And that's what will crash the industry. It's not, it probably won't end up being the greed. What'll end up crashing the industry, if it does happen, is our collective boredom. Yeah. And if the industry stagnates, if it does nothing but make battle royale games for us to throw money at for no reason because it's a free game, we're going to get real tired of it real fast. And someone will come along and hopefully introduce something that sparks our interest and re-sparks the industry. But if it's going to crash, it's going to crash because no one has any new ideas.
Honestly,
or no one's giving any money to people who do have the new ideas.
Based on how some of these games have kind of come out of nowhere recently, not just Apex Legends, but other free-to-play games, and they've kind of shooken everything up, I'm kind of seeing this point where companies will throw a shitload of money at a free-to-play game to shake up the market, to try and be the next Fortnite or next Apex Legends, and then 2 weeks later, another company does it. And then 2 weeks later, another company does it. And all these companies just spend more money. It's not necessarily the games crash because of... I get it, because also we get burned out. So we're getting burned out from that. But also, it just ate itself by spending all this money on going, well, if we give them something for free, we can take all their money later. We can take 10 times the amount if we get it later.
Right.
But I think that the games industry itself is... it's at this weird flux where, for one, I hate for people to lose their jobs, but some of the publishers need to go away. They at least need to be broken up.
Yeah.
They are too big. They're too gross. They're too fat, and they're making poor decisions for the now thousands and thousands and thousands of people that are underneath them, not just a couple hundred people.
Yeah, no, we're at the Mob Bell stage with a lot of these publishers. I mean, they're just enormous. You're talking about like
Billions
the top
of dollars.
You're talking about the top 100 richest people in the United States of America. That basically makes them the top 100 richest people on earth, aside from people who own far too many resources because they're royalty. These CEOs, this is not a political podcast. This is we're talking like CEOs making in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and that's just personal bonuses and salaries.
Yeah,
and
for
shit.
showing up for a job for 6 months.
For literally not playing video games. They don't play video games. They don't care about video games.
They sit on a conference call once every 6 months and go, "This is what we earned."
Right. And
Okay.
I mean, imagine if
You did nothing.
Bill Gates had never used Microsoft. Like that's the type of disconnect we're talking about. What if Jeff Bezos never used Amazon because it was too poor and he had other things to do? I mean, what the fuck? How does that help you run anything? But that's the level of incompetence we're dealing with at the top levels of these publishers. Break them up.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, that's what we're seeing right now is that we're seeing these games like Anthem being pushed out that have like these $1 million budgets, like millions upon millions upon millions of dollars put behind it.
All right, Anthem was hands down hundreds of millions of dollars
like
are
this
put in
hype
that game.
train behind this. And then you had something like Apex Legends made it quietly. There was money put into it, but
sure.
nobody had any idea
Probably
that
at
it was
least
coming
$100
out.
million was put in Apex Legends.
Dropped. Like and said, all right, here we are. If it's good, it's good. If not, we're not really losing anything. We just got to make a game using an engine that we love. Have a good time, guys.
So
But
Titanfall
their
didn't-
publisher was the same fucking publisher and shot themselves in their own dick by going like, we're going to release this free-to-play game and then like a week later release this other game that everybody's been waiting 6 years for, but they don't know anything about this other game, so we don't know what the fuck we're doing. It's literally them saying, we don't know what the fuck we're doing.
Yeah, they
There's
say
a lot of problems with the way that big video game studios are being managed and mismanaged. It's a huge thing at this point. And I think that is the thing that we need to be addressing first, or we will see this bubble burst again.
I've said on the show so many times, I want the bubble to burst, though. I need this shit to fucking happen because these companies will not learn. I mean, yeah, they'll take them 30 years and they'll forget again,
Right.
but they will not learn the lessons. They will not have. We need. Sometimes you gotta kill off the old to make new things. All right,
So
you have to
what
burn the field to plant new trees.
So without like Tony's genocidal rant notwithstanding, I think the good solution along the lines of what he's saying is what we need is one of the giants to fail. And by fail, I'm talking stock market. I'm saying that like what an
Basically,
Activision,
it's
a
Activision and Blizzard
EA,
need to
like let one of them just tank so hard that they're unrecoverable, bankruptcy. I know
be turned into a penny stock and be instantly ripped.
I know
apart.
rip forever. I know lots of jobs go away. Hopefully they get hired by other studios or at least become other studios in a different company, differently incorporated. But what I'm saying is that may be a catalyst to galvanize the other heads of industry into going, maybe
we don't.
Maybe if we want our stock to stay solvent, we should put someone who knows what the fuck they're doing at the top. Like Nintendo, like you have your Reggies or your Miyamotos. Like EA needs that. EA needs someone who knows games and has developed games and who just wants their games to
Like
be
for me,
good.
that's whenever Microsoft put Phil Spencer in charge. And went, holy shit, a dude that's like he was actively playing other competitors' products and like tweeting about them all the time. He's like, I love this game. I played this 20 hours this week of this other company's game. He's like, and you're like, but that's not a Microsoft. Like, I don't give a fuck. I play games, bitch. I'm here to make money and make games.
Yeah.
Like
All
that's the level of fun and care that we need. But also, I'm sorry, still unionization that will help save the gaming industry from killing itself. I want there to be at least one company go under just so they can learn a lesson. And I think that the lesson that they'll learn from that is unionize so this won't happen, and also put people in charge. We've got a long way to go with video games.
We are in the young days of the video game
But
industry.
I'm interested to see where this is going to go.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on. I think the video game industry just needs to be very self-aware and a lot less greedy. That way we don't have to worry about things like a giant bubble burst. Now, I know there's a lot of deep topics that we've been diving into with this. We have a lot of strong opinions because we do love this industry so very much and we want nothing but the best for it. If you have any opinions about any of the things that we've talked about today, Tony, where can they find us?
Twitter's at the Surly Nerd, twitch.tv/Surly Nerd, live Monday, 7:30 Central. We've got thesurlynerd.com is our websites, facebook.com/surlynerds our Facebook page. There's a donate button on Twitch and on our website. If you want to donate to the show, there'll be other ways to donate to the show, possibly in the near future. We'll see. We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
We've got episode 300 next week.
Hell yeah.
Where we're doing... We're not going to tell you. We're not going to tell you about that.
We're not going to tell you.
We're not going to tell you. You have to tune in.
It's gonna be a show.
Oh, don't forget.
A show will happen for episode 300.
Don't forget we're on Spotify. That's how I listen to the show when I'm not on it.
Yep, it's very true.
Yeah, you did have to go back and listen, and apparently you think we're very funny.
You are very funny.
It's good to know that we're funny, you know, when you're not just sitting here.
Exactly. When I'm not the one making all the jokes, you fucking heavy bags that I carry across this fucking threshold every day.
All right, that's everything that we have for the show this week. Next week is episode 300. I'm so super excited about that. Please come in. Please tune in live if you can. We're not doing anything special for it. We're just going to be hanging out, having a good time. And there's going to be lots of...
I'm going to stick my thumb up all of our butts.
What a weird... I did not approve this.
And the producer, what I say goes.
All right, that's
gotta
everything
break
we
out
have
my
for the show
butt plug
this
again.
week. This is episode 299 in the books. Until next week, for Tony, this is James.
For James, this is Tony.
And I'm Hector.
Until next week, adventurers, good night.
And good game.
Thank you, everybody in Twitch, for sticking around and giving us all your comments. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Twitch.
Go to the bathroom. Get so bad.
I hope that worked. I pressed save show, and I don't know if it worked or not.
I hope it works.
I hope it worked. And we're going to test this other theory. So we're going to